Welcome to HACCP Happenings. This segment was born from the thriving HACCP GMP LinkedIn group. And in this series, we're going to be diving into the latest trends, challenges, and solutions in food safety, featuring insights from industry professionals that are committed to maintaining the highest standards. The HACCP GMP group on LinkedIn is a community where experts can share knowledge on hazard analysis and critical control points and GMP, good manufacturing practices. And people work together to shape a safer food industry. Today's interview, we're going to be talking about some of those practices and explore the evolving landscape of food safety. Let's get started. Could you introduce yourself?
Good morning, Patrick. My name is Elena Montoya, and I am honored to be here today with HACCP GMP discussion group. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And Elena, what's your current role and what are your main responsibilities in food safety?
I work at Tech Services as a site operations manager, and I oversee the sanitation program for a national food distribution warehouse. My food safety responsibilities include document revision, review, verification, creating documented training instructions that support GDP's good distribution practices and align with federal, state, and regulatory agencies. To give you an example, Patrick, I'm currently regulated by the FDA, USDA, OSHA, SQF, and QAI. In my previous experience, I was also regulated by the Department of Agriculture, Environmental Protection Agency, ISO 9001, SQF, sorry, not SQF, AIB, QMS, and F22K. I also perform regular trainings with my team for food safety. Those happen routinely with each new hire and again yearly before the onset of my audit season, at which time I update my training binder with any new PowerPoints, job aids, tests, working instructions, and training sign-off sheets with the date the training was completed. Patrick, I also take an active role in overseeing the purchasing of materials and tools, as I want to ensure my teams have the right tools for the job. Things I take into consideration are hygienic design, color coding to prevent cross-contamination, and cost efficiency. Daily, I perform inspections of all areas while providing coaching, teaching, and training. Patrick, I teach the whys of food safety to my teams. I don't want them to blindly follow my instructions. I want them to understand the actions, the importance of their actions, and how they align with food safety.
Sounds like that keeps you quite busy and with all those audits. How many audits do you typically go through throughout the year?
Routinely, I have 6, and that will fluctuate with government or regulatory agency inspections, such as the FDA or USDA.
Yeah, and I think, really highlight the training that you do with your employees and coworkers and getting them to understand why they're doing things. Because a lot of times if someone doesn't understand some of the reasons why they're doing things, they tend to blow it off or are not that concerned with it, and that can cause real issues.
I think that's a very valid point. If we understand the importance of why we're doing something instead of just being given directions or instructions, I think our actions become that more meaningful and sustainable.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that goes for not just in food safety, but in everything.
Absolutely.
How did you start your career in the food safety industry?
Patrick, I started from the bottom and worked my way up. I started at Frito-Lay in manufacturing and distribution. I worked in distribution, selecting eaches and loading cases on carts and onto trailers. I then became a packer and a backup processing operator. During that time, I was a processing operator on 3 of the 4 processing lines. And then I became a sanitation coordinator or supervisor. I went on to become a sanitation manager for a local bakery with many national accounts. I had briefly returned to Frito-Lay due to my commitment to food safety. And then I took my current role. This has been 7 years of my career, Patrick. A lot can happen in 7 years.
It sure can. Um, what are the specific courses or certifications that you would recommend to someone else who's looking to enter this field? Because I know a lot of people in the HACCP GMP group on LinkedIn. That's over 136,000 people. You know, I get a lot of questions about, you know, what education or what training should I do to break into this industry? What would you suggest?
Patrick, since my early days of food safety, I now hold many food safety certifications. PCQI, or Preventative Controls Qualified Individual, HACCP, of course, Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. Another important uh, certification in the industry is CPFS, Certified Professional Food Safety. I also recommend taking any and all courses available in Integrated Pest Management, IPM, Pathogen Environmental Monitoring, PEM, and anything related to allergens. Allergens is such a huge hot topic in our industry. 7 steps of sanitation, chemical safety, risk analysis management, and any of the certifying or regulatory bodies, SQF, BRCG, and GFSI, are widely accepted and recognized. I recommend taking any and all certifications available to you, Patrick, because education, training, and certification look so different from company to company and depending on your role.
No, agreed. Uh, how important do you think is continuous learning in the food safety field?
Patrick, I myself am dedicated to continuous improvement. I have many passion projects. I'm currently working at becoming bilingual in Spanish. I've been working at this for a year and a half. I'm pursuing my LSS Green Belt. I'm also the Vice President of Public Relations for my Toastmasters Super Communicators Club. I typically read 2 books at the same time. I listen to a few weekly podcasts based on food safety and participate in industry discussion groups. This takes about 2 hours daily, Monday through Friday, and about 4 to 8 hours of my time on the weekends.
Nice. That must keep you busy. It sounds like you might have a work-life balance issue there. Uh, but you know, you mentioned PR, and I think that's, you know, that's, I'm a marketing professional, so you know that's right up my alley. But I think, you know, I think the industry really is falling down in that specific area when it comes to food safety. I mean, public relations, look at Boar's Head right now.
Mhm.
I mean, you just hear 2 people have died, and I've seen reports where they expect more deaths. Truthfully, I've heard nothing from Boar's Head about before this happened. You know what they thought about food safety. I've heard nothing since. You know, and I I can't see, you know, I just went to their website and there's nothing about what they've done to prevent this. And now that, you know, there's very little on their website. So I'm like, I'm wondering if that's an ongoing, you know, if they're going to be able to stay in business.
I,
But
Patrick,
so
I
many companies, I think, ignore, they don't, they're afraid to talk about their food safety programs. And, you know, when something like this happens, if you start talking about it now, when you're in the middle of a crisis, it's too late, I think. But, you know, I
I
think
absolutely
PR is very important.
I absolutely agree. And the fact that this has been going on since August 2023 and 9 people have currently died, how they are not coming out with a statement just saying that we are working to correct this or
Yeah.
we're actively addressing this. But again, like you said, that's far too late. We need to have that conversation as individuals, as department managers, as companies, as organizations early on to prevent those things from happening. All foodborne illness is preventable, Patrick, and it starts with personal or proper personal hygiene. Hand washing is so important as norovirus is the #1 worldwide foodborne illness.
Yeah. And you know, if it really food safety isn't that complicated. It's simple, and I've read that two-thirds of all food safety issues could be prevented if we just washed our hands. So,
Absolutely.
if we just listened to our moms and washed our hands, we could eliminate two-thirds of this. Uh, and then, that brings up a question. It seems like there's more food safety uh, issues and more outbreaks. And you mentioned allergens earlier, and there's more and more people. When I was growing up, no one was ever allergic to peanuts, and now the schools, you can't even have peanut products in the schools. But then getting back to the outbreaks, is it because we're more aware of it because of testing and reporting and things like that? We're better at tracking it. Or is something going on to where there's more problems than there was in the past?
Well, I think that's a really valid point, Patrick, is because we continue to hear about new allergens, we continue to hear about larger outbreaks and greater number of people affected by allergens or food safety, foodborne illness. I think that a lot of that has to do with, I've read several articles where people are not actually allergic to the gluten. They're allergic to the pesticide and the residual chemical effect of the pesticide during the growing and harvesting process. So I think we're going to continue to see here in America more allergens added to our existing nine, and we will follow suit with the European Union. So I expect to see sulfites, celery, mustard seed. Those are probably going to be coming down the pike in the next couple of years.
Well, hopefully, what crushed red pepper doesn't get added to that list because I like that on my food. But and I just read a paper that said about apples absorbing the pesticides and it goes through the skin. So washing it off doesn't help you any. And if it's getting into the meat of the apple, then as long as they're using pesticides, there's not much, people are going to ingest that. So that's an issue.
I
And
just I just also read an article yesterday, Patrick, on the effects of global warming, increased humidity, and what's I can't remember the exact term for it, but anyways, diseases in vegetation. So the combination of the two, the disease within the vegetation and the increased humidity, are a breeding ground for higher cases of salmonella. And that's why I'm so passionate about learning and sharing my knowledge on HOCl in preventing foodborne illness, as it's great at treating a lot of those leafy greens, a lot of different vegetation that the pathogens will actually invade the flesh of the produce.
well, and yeah, and I know in I think it was England where they came out and said Brussels sprouts can never be made safe because what you eat is inside the fruit. So even if you clean it on the outside, stuff can get inside. So and when you eat the Brussels sprouts or any kind of sprout, you're eating after it, I guess, sprouts. Uh, I'm not that concerned about it because I don't like any of those anyway. But yeah, that's some of the challenges. Um, what essential skill sets do you think is needed for a food safety professional to succeed?
I think commitment to continuous improvement, first and foremost, as technology is always changing. When people ask me what I do, I explain to them that I'm in the people business and sanitation just happens to be my specialty. I think being able to relate to people and nurture their growth is essential to being successful in any industry.
No, that's great. What are the biggest challenges you face in your role?
Patrick, as you had touched on, work life balance is something I am continuously working on finding a medium, a happy medium, and that kind of ebbs and flows depending on my passion projects or what I'm currently working on. Time management has been something I've struggled with in the past. However, I've become a lot more efficient at that.
What do you find most rewarding about your work?
Knowing that I can help build tomorrow's leaders, and most importantly, that I'm helping prevent foodborne illness. So many people, I believe the numbers are 1 in 6 Americans suffer from foodborne illness every year. And I think we're currently losing 5,000 people yearly to foodborne illness. And again, all of this can be and is preventable. So really being able to implement a stronger food safety culture, creating those trainings that help prevent foodborne illness is so important. And it's a very big passion of mine.
What are the recent innovations or trends that you've seen in food safety that are, that excite you?
I'm always researching a lot of different topics related to food safety, whether they relate to my current position or industry. I find it's really important to stay knowledgeable on current changes or industry opportunities. And I'm currently, as I mentioned, researching HOCl and preventing foodborne illness, high pressure processing, or cold pasteurization. Some of the benefits of that include increased nutritional retention, extended shelf life, and reduced needed for additives and preservatives. I think we all want to eat food with less preservatives these days.
Yeah, definitely. And how do you stay up to date on the new things coming out?
Well, by participating in industry discussion groups such as GMP HACCP or HACCP GMP discussion group on LinkedIn, it gives me a chance to test my knowledge and learn as the answers are posted after the polls commence. I routinely read books on food safety subject matter. I listen to podcasts. I follow outbreaks conducted by Bill Maher when we have food safety issues such as boar's head, and listen to weekly podcasts.
Yeah, that's great. And I think the stuff coming out today, both within the food industry and just general technology with AI and automation, and I think it's really going to change how things happen. Um, and you know, I think the more automation, while it's not going to help jobs, it will, it takes away the human uh, part of that equation, and robots don't need to wash their hands. So, that can help. But also with AI, in being able to identify food safety issues. And I've been reading the FDA is looking at, scanners that can detect salmonella. And that stuff like that is really interesting. If someone's just beginning their food safety career, what advice would you give them?
I would recommend to them, Patrick, if I had the knowledge I have now looking back and I was starting out in the industry, I would definitely start in manufacturing and distribution, and I would base my career in quality assurance. Quality assurance is so instrumental in food safety, and there's so many opportunities to become highly certified, knowledgeable, and it really helped build that food safety quality culture, as well as the salaries are a lot more robust.
Now that always helps. Um, so where do you see the industry heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think you already touched on that topic, and I'll reiterate. I think AI technology, artificial intelligence, is going to be huge in helping prevent foodborne illness, traceability, allergens, detecting pathogens. I also see that the industry will continue evolving with automation and robotics. Again, this is because of the rising labor costs. This will naturally reduce jobs from the market, as you had mentioned. But I think there's something to be excited about in terms of automated routine floor care. So we'll continue to see robotics taking over the industry. And hopefully they'll have some automated sanitation for their robotic hands.
Yeah, right. Uh, no, that's and I think it's an exciting time, but also very concerning. So, uh, as we see things coming along, I think the industry really needs to focus on communicating. And I think, you are part of Toastmasters and involved with public relations, but I would recommend to everyone starting out to really dedicate themselves to that, to be able to communicate. I've seen people coming, out of the universities, and they don't like to talk on the phone, or they're not good at communicating, and that's so important to be able to communicate with your teams, with your customers, with the marketplace, but also as a leader, you need to be able to communicate with your team, like you said, to express, what is, why you're doing things, and the importance of that, and being able to explain things like that is a huge asset to people. And it's not that common. People, and I think it's getting worse. So I think, really learning how to communicate, how to write, how to operate in meetings, and not be afraid to speak up is a very valuable trait, both in the business world and in your personal life.
I absolutely agree with that. I think we all have a message and a story to tell, and oftentimes that message is really important. But until we learn how to interact and relate to people, does that message have the chance to be delivered and received? So, public speaking and learning those fine leadership skills, sometimes those soft skills, can really make a difference in your career and your effectiveness within the industry.
No, agreed. I mean, because you can have the greatest idea in the world, but if you don't express it and get others to buy into it, nothing ends up happening.
Absolutely.
So we're about out of time. Anything else you'd like to include?
Patrick, I just want to thank you for all of your work on the HACCP GMP discussion group, helping educate people that are new to this industry, helping keep the rest of us seasoned professionals on our toes, as we sometimes don't have a chance to use all of those questions or skills in our daily lives, and keeping that information at the forefront of our knowledge, and just giving us the opportunity to be here today and share our experience and our knowledge with those new to the industry. So thank you for all that you do.
No, I appreciate that, and I've enjoyed our conversation, and I enjoy the group, which is I founded that in 2012. So that's what, 12 years ago, which is kind of
Wow.
scary. But now it's, I think we're at over 137,000 people globally. So, it's really, it's rewarding to see that growth, to see the activity and the participation within the group. And, you're a part of that. And I thank you for doing this segment.
Well, it's been an absolute honor, Patrick, and I hope that this is the one of many conversations that we get to have in the future.
Yeah, I plan on doing a lot more of these, so we'll see. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure, Patrick.
It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you.